Hey, what's going on, guys? Justin here. I want to talk to you about drinking alcohol while cutting fat or preventing any sort of fat gain. I had a client over the weekend ask me about doing this and if it would inhibit any sort of fat loss progress and if I would let her. Now, I absolutely let her, because for me and with my whole coaching approach is not to cut anything out, any pleasures in life that we like. It's all about moderation and balance, right? So, drinking, one or two drinks is not going to kill you. And, you might be able to lose fat in that course of that day, but anything beyond that, you're pretty much looking just to prevent any sort of fat gain for that day. And that's really what we're talking about here. Because I never look at the day when I'm drinking as, okay, I'm going to lose fat today. What's the best way I can do this while drinking as much as I want? It's just not going to happen. So there are a couple of protocols I've used over the years that have worked tremendously well and some that have not. It's been a lot of trial and error. So I want to share with you some of the ways you can drink while preventing any sort of fat gain. Probably the best approach I've used over the years is training around 9, 10, 11 a.m. in the morning. Probably fasted. I would have dextrose and BCAAs, and then I would have a post-workout meal right after, and it would be protein, minimal fat, and about 70, 80, 90 grams of carbs, and I would never go above 100, because when you drink alcohol for the day, we pretty much assume it's going to come from carbs, even though it's really not a carb. It's not any of those macronutrients, really. But carbs have the most propensity for fat gain, and alcohol does too. So you're better off having those calories come from carbs. Now, after your post-workout meal, say it's around 1 p.m., I would fast for the rest of the day, and I would not have anything to eat until I drink. Now, that's all contingent upon how much you want to drink for that night. If you're at a party, bachelor party or whatever, and you expect to have 7+ drinks, this is probably the best way to go about it. It's going to be very hard to put on any sort of fat gain because you have a lot of calories to play with. So that's not, always conducive for everybody, but that's a strategy I've used many times. Now, another way you can go about it is AM training, have a post-workout meal, and then have protein, fats, and vegetables throughout the day. So if you are not planning on drinking a whole lot that night, you can have, more proteins and fat to make up, your calories, and then just have, 1, 2, 3, or 4 drinks, and you'll be fine. But you have to keep in mind that you're just looking to maintain, so you just want to hit your maintenance calories, and that's really the goal at this point. Now, a third strategy you can do is train midday. So if you want to train around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's fine. You would have to fast up until that point. That would be my recommendation. And then you could have your post-workout meal, proteins and carbs, and then you would fast again until 10, 11 o'clock at night or whenever you're drinking. That's also a good strategy to use. The only slight issue I find with that is, you've broken up the fasting period, and for good fat loss and to prevent any sort of fat gain, that might be a little bit of an issue, maybe not. It's just my hypothetical belief. So you can do it that way, and the other way you can go about it is not to work out at all and just fast all day, which I've done, and it's not entirely fun because the first drink you have, you're pretty much half drunk. So that's probably the last strategy you might want to use. But really, in general, the whole concept of intermittent fasting is great because, it gives you a lot of calories to play with. And, what I've found is eating after drinking is actually not a bad thing. You can totally do it and not see any negative damage. Because you might hear a lot of people say, not to eat at all after drinking, you're just going to store it as fat, but it's not really true at all. It's all about the context of the entire day and what your calories are like, and how much you've been eating, right? It's always about the total calories for the day. So just make sure you don't go over maintenance calories. That's really all you need to worry about. Oh yeah, and I forgot to talk about training, right? So the whole goal with training on a drinking day is really to have high intensity, high training density, high volume. Just do a lot of work, shorten the rest periods. You don't need to do a lot of like cardio and spend hours doing that. It's just a waste of time. Don't do that, please. Okay, just don't change much. Basically, just do a lot of work, and that will keep your metabolism through the roof. Okay, now we got to talk about hangovers. Obviously nobody likes them. We think it's inevitable, but really, you don't have to rely on Advil every morning. There are other things you can do. So obviously water is the obvious choice. History tells me that carbonated water like Pellegrino has been very helpful for me personally. That's just anecdotal evidence. Not sure if there's anything magical to it. Probably not. I'll check PubMed later and let you know. But whatever, just drink water. That's really the take-home message. I usually like a liter or two before I go to sleep. Although, the recommendation is also to drink 1 cup of water per every drink you have. But even better than that is taking a B complex. So I take a B complex supplement, usually towards the end of the night when I'm winding down. But you can also take it before you drink. And the reason for this is because it assists with liver detoxification. The B vitamins are heavily used in liver detoxification. So when you supply the liver with those nutrients, you just help get the alcohol out of the system faster. Now that's the problem with taking a B complex early on in the night, is that it'll take you a longer time to get the buzz. So I've experimented with that, and it wasn't great because I wanted to feel something. But if you don't want to feel anything, then you can obviously take that before you drink. So definitely take a B complex before you go to sleep. Absolutely. Electrolytes. That's another incredibly important thing to keep in mind when you drink, because they're depleted and you need to replenish your body with them. So I usually take an electrolyte powder formula. Really doesn't matter what brand you use. I use one from Designs for Health. It's great. I even use it during training because electrolytes are needed for during training. But anyway, definitely take that as well. Okay. Lastly, N-acetylcysteine is another supplement I will use sometimes. It's a precursor for the incredibly important antioxidant glutathione, which is in the liver, and helps with detoxification as well. So that's not incredibly important, not as much as B complex, but if there's anything you do, definitely drink enough water and definitely take a B complex, and you will be surprised by how much of a hangover you don't have the next day. Okay? So those are my recommendations. Give these protocols a try. Let me know what you think. If they suck, if they don't, I would love to hear from you. And thank you for watching. Hopefully that was helpful to you. Take care, guys.